Hi, I'm the Trevor, and I'm the host of Easy Sunday. Every Sunday in this garage, we're gonna keep it simple. Workouts, mindsets, habits, and just simple things to do that can fit into your life that actually add to it. The problem a lot of us have with working out or with creating new habits is that we look at it as something that subtracts from our day. I have to work out for an hour and that takes away from other things I could or should be doing. But I wanna help us reframe that in a way that makes us see that working out or adding new habits or doing things to better ourselves is actually addition to our normal days. Most of us aren't trying to be athletes. We're just trying to feel better, look better, and move better. Because if you're in your 30s and you're already miserable, imagine how bad it's going to be when you're in your 60s. So we want to start moving a little bit more. We want to be smart with what we do. We want to maximize the amount of time that we spend on working out and stretching, dressing, looking better, and feeling better. And I know what you're thinking, like, I don't look like I'm in the best shape right now, but I used to be. I used to be the face of fitness. I used to have people asking me for advice and asking me to help them craft their meal plans and workout plans. Yeah, life just gets in the way. And I'm one of those people who thinks that sometimes working out or stretching or meditating or any of these things is a subtractor for my day. And I want to break that by helping you guys do the same thing. Also in that mindset, we're doing things super simple. We're not going to have a gym membership. We're going to find ways to work out with compound movements using weights that we can easily buy and little to zero machines. Actually, zero machines. We're just going to be doing body weight, kettlebell, and dumbbell exercises. We're kicking things off with a kettlebell-only leg workout. 1 or 2 kettlebells, a few key movements, no fluff, just building real strength that you'll actually use by Monday and from here on out. And I'll do a start off first by talking about the shoes. I used to see people in the gym all the time wearing running shoes to do leg exercises. And well, I'm just gonna say that's incorrect. You need to be able to balance yourself as best as possible. And running shoes are not the best for balancing when doing squats, lunges, any of those other things. Running shoes are great for running the way that they're shaped, but they're not good for balancing. I definitely recommend buying shoes appropriate for working out, but really you can find some Vans, Converse, something similar to that are as flat as possible, or just barefoot if you're brave enough. I used to squat in the gym barefoot all the time. I probably wouldn't be doing kettlebell exercise barefoot, but you do whatever feels best to you without putting yourself in danger. So find some Vans or Converse or something similar, and don't wear running shoes. We're going to start off with the warm-up. We're going to do supersets of 10 push-ups and 10 body weight squats. We're going to do 4 sets of those. Now, I'm actually doing a sissy squat instead. I actually bought this machine when I was building out my home gym, but you don't need one of these. You can do a body weight squat, or if you feel like the body weight squat isn't quite enough, you can do a squat with a lower weight kettlebell or something with a little bit of weight. Don't start by burning out your quads right away. Let's just focus on getting the form correct. Our feet flat on the ground. We're squatting as low as we possibly can, pushing up with our heels, and really just focusing on getting everything moving. We want to have proper form, but we're not trying to blow out our quads or our glutes quite yet. And just to get this out of the way, despite it being called a sissy squat, this is not a derogatory name for calling somebody a sissy or a wuss or whatever. Sissy squats are actually super hard. It's actually named after Sisyphus from Greek mythology, who was punished to push a stone up a hill the rest of his life. And so, yeah, I think it's called sissy squats, named after him because you develop some crazy quads doing the sissy squat. I bought this machine so I could do sissy squats and some other squat variations and hip thrusts, but you don't need this machine. You can just do regular squats and you can do variations of kettlebell squats. You don't necessarily need this. I also like to do my push-ups in this particular way to work on the upper chest a little bit more. I always lacked an upper chest, so I like to do my push-ups in this variation so that I'm putting more effort on my upper chest. However, just do whatever push-up variation suits you the best. Definitely work on keeping a straight back and focusing on pushing through and locking your elbows at the top so that you are squeezing your chest together when you get to the top. I think that's a big thing that a lot of people miss in chest exercises in general, but definitely any sort of press, dumbbell press, bench press, and push-ups is when you get to the top, lock your elbows out and really squeeze your chest together. All right. right, so let's move into the first exercise, which is gonna be kettlebell squats, or goblet squats, I guess is the correct name for this. Oh yeah, so we're doing goblet squats. By the way, all of the kettlebells that I bought, I found on Facebook Marketplace. I recommend you do the same. I'm sure there's somebody getting rid of some things. Even the heaviest ones I actually found on Facebook Marketplace. I did find one at TJ Maxx or Marshall's. If you're not being super budget conscious and you want to kind of have everything you need, Amazon and Walmart are both great options. However, I preferred to find as much as I could on Facebook Marketplace first. I definitely paid less than $1 per pound, which was kind of my goal. So we're starting off with goblet squats. There's a lot of variations you can do on the goblet squats. You can do sumo stance, you can do neutral stance, you can even bring your knees together a little bit closer and focus on more glutes than quad activation. Make sure you're focusing on your form, okay? Make sure we're keeping our back straight, our shoulders rolled back. It's okay if your knees go over your toes. That is not a big deal. It doesn't matter. The biggest thing is to make sure that when you're coming down and you're coming up, you're not rocking forward on the balls of your feet and you're not lifting your heels up. You really want to make sure that you're pushing from your heels. No matter which variation you're doing, you're wanting to push from your heels. The thing that's helped me the most is when I'm pushing back up, I lift my toes up off the ground so I can focus on pushing with my heels. And that's always really helped me keep that mind-muscle connection. But what's really great about the goblet squat over doing a variation where you're holding the kettlebell between your legs is that you're also working a lot of your abs, you're working your back muscles because you're holding that weight up in front of you. So it's very similar to a front squat in that way, except, you know, you're not like having to hold your arms up with the weight right there, which kind of always took away my focus from squatting when I try to do front squats. So the kettlebell squats, you can kind of just focus on holding it, you know, chest level. Make sure you're keeping your back straight and your shoulders back as you're just pushing the weight with your leg. You're working your abs and your back as well. And the big thing about this whole series is compound movements. So we're making the most out of the hour, or if we even get an hour to work out. So the next one we're gonna be working on is kettlebell Romanian deadlift. Big difference between good mornings and Romanian deadlifts is with good mornings, you are just completely hinging at the hips and bending over and standing up straight. And with Romanian deadlifts, you are giving yourself just the slightest bend in your knees so you can activate your hamstrings as you lift back up. Again, make sure you're using a weight that is not too heavy because we don't wanna hurt our backs. And also make sure you're not using too much of your back. We are hinging our hips slightly, bending our knees slightly as we bring the weight down, and then we are activating our hamstrings as we lift it back up. And we're coming fully up and we're locking our hamstrings and our glutes. One of the biggest mistakes is just rolling your back, which means your back is bent over, and then pulling with your back. So you want to make sure that you, as you get to the top, you are rolling your shoulders back and locking them in. And as you're bending over, you're keeping your back in the exact same position. You're hinging at your hips, giving a slight bend of the knees, and then hold the weight, reset yourself if you need to. Make sure that your back isn't curved, make sure your back is flat, and then lift back up. We're just gonna do 3 sets from 10 to 12. Well, that's what we're gonna do for most of these exercises. We're getting back into it. We're not gonna go crazy numbers. If you need to do a warm-up set with a lighter weight, that's totally fine, but we're not gonna do crazy workouts. We're just gonna do 10 to 12. If you find that you are blasting through 12 reps pretty easily and can even do more, that's when you know it's time to up the weight. That's called progressive overload. And if you don't have more weight, find different variations or harder ways to do it. Maybe it's slower, maybe you pause, maybe you do an extra set, or switch from neutral to sumo, switch from neutral to a closer stance, whatever works for you. The biggest thing is to make sure that we are continuously progressing and overloading, and that is either weight or the way we do the sets, how difficult the sets are, more sets, more volume. That's the name of the game with progressive overload. This next exercise is one of my favorites because it's one of the hardest to do. I think it's probably underutilized by most people, and this is the single leg Romanian deadlift. So very similar to what we did earlier, except we're putting a lot of effort into balancing. And this is one of the most difficult exercises to do if you don't have a good mind-muscle connection. So I would recommend that you work on doing it without weights a few times to really focus on the muscles that you need to connect and you need to be working. Now, you can do this with single weights or double weights, whatever works best, whatever you have. Most of the time I use only one weight because it's slightly easier. You can even use a barbell if you have that. That's honestly a really good option too. And so what you're doing here is similar with the regular Romanian deadlift, where we're going to keep our back straight. We're going to hinge our hips. We're going to bend our knees slightly, and we're going to pull back up, really pushing through our heels and stretching our hamstrings and activating our hamstrings to help lift lift us up. The problem here though is that you have one foot, so you have a lot of balance work to do. If you're just starting out, I recommend really focusing on the space right in front of your foot and trying to move fluidly up and down as straight as possible. That seemed to really help me in the beginning. And honestly, I still struggle with these. I've had some foot issues and I've had ankle injuries in the past and are still working through some of those. So my balance kind of sucks when I'm doing one foot or the other. So I would recommend playing around with what positions and what sort of movements kind of help you balance the best. For me, it is sticking my arm out as I'm coming up and then working to lift my knee up. I feel like just having that one fluid motion, I don't know, it just seems like for some reason it helps me stay balanced a little bit better and not bringing my knee fully up. The big thing is to try to not let the weights hit the ground or let your toe touch the ground. But hey, you know what? That's gonna happen. Like, unless you have perfect balance, that's gonna happen. I recommend doing what works best for you. And I think that as long as you are focusing on pulling with your hamstring, keeping your abs tight and your back straight and lifting up, if you have to let the weight or your foot touch for a second, that's totally fine. It's just part of it. Continue on. All right, so the next exercise is going to be lunges. Now, I know a lot of people seem to be against lunges in some way, but they're an incredibly powerful exercise, honestly. You can do them walking, you can do them standing, you can do them on a bench, you can do them with weights, without weights, you can do them with a barbell on your back. There's a lot of different ways to do it, and they are incredibly powerful for mobility, core strength, and definitely legs, glutes, hamstrings. They're a great compound exercise. Now, I'm demonstrating both variants of a standing lunge, a reverse lunge, and then also a forward moving lunge. I personally prefer the forward moving lunge because you can control the amount of stretch that you're going to get from that type of lunge. The reverse lunge is fine, but I feel like I'm spending more time trying to balance and move my foot back fluidly, and sometimes it feels like the stretch isn't really there. So with a forward lunge, I can see where my foot is going, where it's landing. I know where I'm going to get the stretch at. To me, it just seems like a better opportunity to really work the muscles that I'm looking to work out. Now, you can do this with one weight, with two weights if you have weights that are the same amount. You can also do it with no weights. You can do it with a weighted vest. There's a lot of different ways. Again, I'm using one kettlebell for this instance because I don't have the same amount of weight for this one, but it still works. You're still loading your front quad, you're stretching the rear quad and rear hamstring, and you can even do a variant where you don't fully move forward and backwards. You can honestly stand with your legs split and just focus on moving up and down to put a little bit more strain on your quads and less on the stretch. I like to do a very forward leaning lunge where I'm stretching the glutes and the hamstrings a little bit more and putting a little bit less of a load on my quads, just because we're doing so many other quad heavy exercises. So I really just try to focus a little bit more on getting the stretch in there. And again, if you have a long enough driveway or you want to take advantage of the space that you have, feel free to walk instead. Definitely nothing wrong with walking lunges with one weight. You can even hold the weight over your head if you prefer. There's a lot of different variants, but again, we're focusing on either reverse standing or forward moving lunges. Now, this is actually my favorite leg exercise, and it's one that not a lot of people do, or I don't see a lot of people doing, but it's incredibly painful in the best way. It really does hurt. It is incredibly powerful. Another good compound movement, another good way to work out your quads, your glutes, your hamstrings all at once in a different way, outside of just doing regular squats. And then is the single leg split squat. I know that I started this off by saying you don't need anything, but you can do it without weight, with weight, whatever. And that still holds true for this. Again, I know that I'm using this squat machine here to do mine, but before this, I did it on a chair. Just bring a chair into your garage or outside and use that. If you have like a bench of some kind, that works. You can even use the bumper of your car if it's low enough. You can use a cooler. There's a lot of different things you can use. The biggest thing is just to have something that you can comfortably sit your foot on, your back foot. You're kind of keeping most of your weight center as you're moving up and down. There's not really a lot to worry about it flipping over. I wouldn't use like a laundry basket or something, but I would definitely use something that you don't have to worry about flipping over. One thing that took me the longest to figure out was how far I needed to be away and what made it the easiest. And for me, and what I've told a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of people be successful in this way, is to basically be as far out as you possibly can from the bench. You do want your front leg to be at a 90-degree angle, so it's kind of like, how far do I need to be away from my front foot to my back foot? And I would say as far as you can. Keep keep your front leg 90 degrees and have your back leg stretched as far as you can. And again, you can use no weights, single weights, double weights, whatever you want, and just fluidly move up and down like you're doing a squat. You've got split legs, so your back leg, your knee is gonna drop and you're going to sink down and then push with your heels and your back quad and move yourself back up. If you're using a single weight, I recommend holding the weight with the side of the stretched leg, not the side that you are using to primarily bend and lift yourself back up. As always, we're doing 3 sets of 10 to 12. That's each leg. These are pretty difficult, so you may only be able to do 8. Sometimes I can only do 8. But if you find yourself being able to do 10 to 12 with one leg and the other leg you're only getting 8, swap your dominant sides and focus on getting the 10 to 12 the next time out of the leg that you only got 8 of in the previous time. All right, now we're finishing off with a move that I think doesn't get talked about enough and doesn't get the credit it deserves. So we're talking about the weighted hip thrust. I feel like a lot of dudes in particularly avoid this exercise or just don't do it. I think because maybe you feel like you can't get enough weight and a lot of dudes are out there trying to ego lift, or maybe you just don't like doing them. I don't really know. I discovered weighted hip thrust way late into the game, but it's definitely a game changer for leg power, posture, and eliminating lower back pain. So why do they matter? First of all, glute strength equals better movement. Strong glutes help stabilize your hips, strengthen your back, reduce back strain, and support nearly every other lower back movement. So you're doing lower back extensions, you're doing hyper extensions, you're doing deadlifts, you're doing freaking bent over rows. This will help make that movement stronger. It's also underrated for fat loss. Big muscles equals big calorie burn, and the glutes are one of the biggest muscle groups in your body. So exercise those, get those burning, and you will burn more calories. And it also kind of rolls back the time on how much you've been sitting. If you're like most of us and you sit all day, well, doing hip thrusts actually roll back that and help strengthen those muscles that are weakened by sitting all day. Okay, so how do you do it at home with little to zero equipment? Now again, I'm using this hip thrust squat machine, but again, you can do it with not a lot. You can do it with a chair, you can do it with a cooler, you can do it with some makeshift, pile of things that you're using, but there are a lot of ways that you can do it. You can use a bench, an ottoman, a couch, go into your living room and just sit your back on the couch. You at least have a couch or your office chair. Definitely can use your office chair if you work from home. Push with your heels, drive your hips up towards the ceiling. Now this is something that I've never tried before until recently. I was watching one of Jeff Nippard's videos and he talked about lifting one of his legs up.
Another really good option is the single leg dumbbell hip thrust. These will hit the entire glutes, but unlike the other options, may shift some emphasis to the upper glutes because the glute medius and minimus will need to stabilize for balance. You can also prevent left to right muscle imbalances by focusing on each glute individually. And I don't like to go heavy here. Just stick to 12 to 15 reps and really focus on controlling the movement.
I am pushing through my heels and pushing my hips towards the sky, essentially. But at the top, your shoulders and knees should be a straight line. So 90-degree angling on the leg that is driving, or both legs driving if you choose to do it that way. Pause for a second at the top and really squeeze the glutes. That's very important, that you're squeezing the muscles that you're exercising. Your lower back, your glutes, really drive those upwards and squeeze at the top, and then lower under control. Try not to just fall back down. We're not trying to get a back injury here. Just control, bring everything down slowly, rest when you get to the bottom, or hold it if you want to make it a little bit more intense. Again, this is one of those things where if you have the weight, you can go up 5 to 10 pounds in weight. If you don't have the weight, find ways to make it harder. Squeeze at the top, hold longer. Squeeze at the bottom, hold longer. Use one leg if you're using both legs. Find ways to make it more difficult. I just want you guys to exercise. I want you to spend at least 30 minutes every other day exercising. Let's not try to go too crazy with the weights. Let's just do simple exercises, compound movements, so we're working a lot of our body. We're working multiple muscle groups, and let's just do 3 sets of 10 to 12. And if those are super easy, find little ways to make it more difficult. Common mistakes to avoid when doing hip thrust: too much back arching. That's always kind of a bad thing with any exercise in general. Don't lean back or hyperextend your lower back at the top. Really just focus on keeping your shoulders and your knees straight and squeezing your glutes. Really squeeze them together. Pushing with the toes, again, this has been a theme throughout all these exercises. Don't push with your toes, don't have your heels up. Make sure you're pushing with your heels. And of course, rush crushing the reps. With all of these, I didn't mention this earlier, but make sure you are controlling the reps and you're really doing the exercise with intention and you're really putting your mind and your muscle together. We want that mind-muscle connection here. Well, that's it. We've done it. You know, guys, I'm super proud of you. I hope you followed along and implemented these exercises. These are super easy exercises that you can do from home that actually deliver a pretty powerful punch. And whether you're just getting started or you're just getting back into it like me, the goal isn't perfection. It's not lifting the heaviest. It's not doing the most. It's consistency. In all things in life, just being consistent. And that doesn't mean exercising every single day. It means not going more than 2 days without exercising. If you exercise on Monday, try to hit Wednesday. And if you miss Wednesday, definitely do it by Thursday. And if you did it on Thursday, make sure you do it by Saturday or Sunday. And you know what? Maybe save your hardest exercise for Sunday like me. And come listen to this channel every Sunday where I'm going to give you guys advice on exercises, how to dress, how to exceed in your career, how to exceed in life, and how to do everything you want in life. Because all of you guys deserve to do everything that you want. And I'm here to help you guys do that. I hope to be the big brother to you that either you do have, but didn't give you the advice you wanted, or I'm here to be the big brother that you never had. I'll be here every Sunday with workouts, advice, and stuff that fits into a real person's schedule, a real modern person's schedule, a person with a family, a 9-to-5, friends, other activities. We're trying to do everything, and I'm going to help you do that. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, then please like and subscribe. Share this with a friend, get an accountability partner, and I'll see you guys next week.